This is episode 81 of the Dante Elephante podcast. This is the first episode of 2023. Sorry about last year. Things got too crazy. I'll talk about it a little bit in this episode. This episode is with Kyle Nicolaides of Beware of Darkness. Kyle and I have known each other for a really, really long time, since we were kids, since we were 17 years old, and we never, ever talked to each other. And we talk about that a little bit on this episode. We talk about a few different things. We talk about ayahuasca, him getting signed at 19, me being jealous of him, and him being jealous of me. And it was really great to finally sit down and talk to someone you've been friends with for all these years, but it was really cool to finally sit down and talk to him. He's a really great guy, and I really admire the work that he's done, and I'm stoked, man. I didn't do a lot of these podcasts last year, even though I told myself I was going to do it. Touring got crazy. I put that if you haven't looked, I put a vlog up for the end of the year last year, kind of get a glimpse of what last year was like for me. A lot of flying, a lot of traveling. This year will be a little bit more chill. I have some new music. It's not coming out soon, but I have new music. The songs are written. It's just time to teach them to the band, and we're gonna start playing shows soon. And speaking of shows, let's get into it. February 18th, the Continental Room in Fullerton. If you are in Fullerton, come on out. Dante Elephante is headlining. We're headlining in Fullerton, and then on the 20th, that's that following Monday, I think it's George Washington's birthday, we are playing the Chapel. We are opening for No Vacation. Now, that's a band I've known for a long time, too, and this is the first time we've ever played together. So come out to San Francisco. We're playing with No Vacation and Waby. I'm very excited. I haven't been to San Francisco in a while. Santa Barbara, we're doing 2 nights at Soho, April 7th and 8th. We're recording a live album. Dante Elephante is recording a live album. You do 2 nights. You pick from both nights. Make a perfect album. And so, we're going to have 2 shots at recording this thing. The first night is with Glenn Annie and the Plastic Harpoons, or just Plastic Harpoons. And then Saturday night, we have Rin, and shout out to Paul Cherry. Paul Cherry is our special guest for April 8th. So tickets are available right now. Go buy a ticket. We're going to film it, and we are recording the audio. It will become vinyl. It will be up on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. Thanks for everyone for subscribing and being so patient with me this last year. Tell a friend about the pod. Go listen to the old episodes. And I'm working on some new episodes right now and trying to get guests. And I appreciate it, man. I appreciate everyone for being so cool. All the cool comments I got. I was reading them periodically. So we got 3 shows, 2 big shows in Santa Barbara. If you're interested in coming up and being part of the history that is a live album, people don't really do a lot of live albums anymore. I think it'd be great. You should come on out. April 7th and 8th. Paul Cherry, Plastic Harpoons, Glenn Annie, Ren. It's a rager. Okay, enjoy the episode. I'm Ruben. I'll see you next week. And thank you. Doing these last year.
Yeah?
Just because touring was starting to be too much until I commit to doing these a bunch. And the last one I did, that thing wasn't on the whole time.
Oh my gosh.
So then I was trying to mix the audio from these cameras, and they sound so tinny. They're cameras. They're microphones, real good microphones, but yeah. Kyle Nicolaides, how are you?
I'm doing so good.
Dude, thanks for being on the pod, first guest of 2023. Yeah. And let's get the promotions out at the top, because people don't listen to the very end, and I hate when podcasts let their guests promote at the very end, because we see the analytics. No one's gonna make it the full hour or 2 hours, however long we go. But go ahead. Floor is yours.
I just wrote a book, and it's called Thank God for Depression, and it's out. It's out now. So.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, let me get.
Yeah. There it is.
Here we go.
Amazing. Yeah.
Thank God for depression.
Thank God for depression.
What? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's everything I learned in 10 years of depression.
Okay.
So my nutshell story is I got signed at 19, toured the world, lived the dream, was depressed as hell, and then did a rock band for 10 years. And it was wild because I got the money and the fame and the success, but it didn't fulfill me or make me happy. Yeah. And it actually made my depression worse. So that led me on a spiritual journey I accidentally crashed into with like meditation, plant medicine, and tantra. And then I got added depression through that. So I thought, what do I do now? And this idea of like, I'm going to alchemize my suffering into light and healing for other people. So I wrote the book I wish I would have had at 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So backstory, we've known each other for a very long time. Santa Barbara's a small scene. You kind of hear people's bands, but like we honestly haven't really ever sat down and like talked.
I know,
real.
it's crazy. Yeah.
And I'm excited. That's why I'm double excited because we finally get to chat for real. But let's get into it. You went to Bishop?
I went to Bishop.
That's amazing. My sister went to Bishop.
Really?
She really enjoyed it.
What's your sister's name?
She just graduated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And your band kind of popped around. I was probably aware of it when I was 17, being in a local band myself. And I remember you playing Muddy Waters a lot.
Yeah.
And Muddy Waters and Jensen's, the second room at Jensen's. When did you really start playing, though? Because that's just when I noticed you.
Yeah.
When did you start?
I started playing piano at like age 8 and then started writing songs after that. And then played guitar at like 12, started singing around then.
And then the band idea, how did that come about? Like, did you always want to be in a band or songwriter?
I never wanted to be a singer, but I always wanted to be in a band. I wanted to be a guitar player, but Santa Barbara, there's like 5 musicians here. So
everyone's in everyone's band. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I put a 3-piece together and then I just kept with that formula for like 10 years. It's like 3 people. Let's do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just like switched them out, you know?
Yeah.
Switched the band names out too. But yeah. And then we started playing, started playing high school, started playing anywhere we could. There was a cool scene in Santa Barbara with like Jensen's and Muddy Waters. And
this is like late 2000s.
Yeah.
Almost 2010s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was a crazy time.
It was dope.
Yeah. People were coming out to shows.
Yeah.
And there was just more places to play. It's gotten even smaller post-pandemic. Like how many venues? It's just Soho.
Oh, wow.
It's Soho. I think like Blue Owl does music, but it's more like you're playing a 3-hour set. It's like a lot of that kind of stuff.
And people are eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those shows can be fun.
They're cool, yeah.
Those shows can be fun.
Yeah.
I'm not good at them. I don't know a lot of covers.
Yeah, right?
And that's what they want, is the covers.
For sure. But yeah, I played at a yoga studio yesterday. I played at Yoga Soup.
Nice.
That was amazing.
That was amazing?
Yeah.
What kind of gig? What was that?
It was
like?
It was beautiful. It was like candlelit, flat roses, like everyone's on a bolster and a blanket. It was like spiritual. There's meditation in it. Yeah.
You playing your songs or just acoustic? Like
acoustic. Just played a lot of my own songs, some covers, Zeppelin cover, some medicine songs.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
Zeppelin, when I hear your music, that seems to be like the biggest reference point. Was that the first band you fell in love with?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you hear about Led Zeppelin?
So I was the biggest video game nerd.
Yeah.
And I still am, and I have to I just sold my PS5 because I was like, you got to stop. It's like, it's so unhealthy for me.
Right.
Like we could talk about that later, but
sure.
So I was a big Zelda fan. Like, and Ocarina of Time came out when I was like 10 or something, and I was like played that like 10 times, obsessed with it. And the music in that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like soundtrack. So I only listened to the Beatles growing up, and then when I was like 5th, 6th grade, my dad was like, "Hey, you should check this band out. They have flutes like Zelda."
Nice.
And it was Zeppelin, and it blew my. I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
It was nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. And I learned drums first, so like I learned Zeppelin through Bonham.
Yeah.
When I started taking drum lessons at Mike's, and my drum teacher showed me them. I was like, "What?"
Oh my god.
Yeah.
What bands were you in high school?
I was in one band in high school, and it was called Tigers in the City.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was me and my cousins.
Okay.
Yeah. And,
I remember that.
That was fun. And I think the oldest cousin, I was 14, and my oldest cousin was like almost about to turn 18. And like he was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
And then my youngest cousin was 12.
Wow.
And we were playing like IV, and we were playing like, it was a weird.
What was your favorite Santa Barbara show?
Oh, at that time?
Just like in general.
At that time?
Yeah.
The opening of the Teen Center. Remember the opening of the Teen Center in Chapala?
I think I was there.
There was actual people at that show.
Yeah,
it was like the first time we played in front of people.
Oh my god.
And I was like, this is sick. And it wasn't just people. It was like, oh, high school friends are here. Like we're playing in front of our high school friends.
Wow.
And that was like fun. I was like, wow, actually a fun show.
That's cool.
Versus like playing in front of no one.
Yeah.
Happened most of the
time. Yeah. I hear you. The amount of shows I played in front of no one, it's just like, it's great.
Yeah. No,
Great.
man. That was a lot of Sandbar. I feel like Sandbar, as much of a great scene it was also very hard. And it's still very hard, even for bigger bands who are like touring through this market. It's so hard to draw tickets here.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
You know, I play a show in Butte, Montana. There's not a whole lot to do. People come out.
Yeah.
That was like one of the best shows of one of the last tours we did. I
Wow.
was like, whoa, I didn't expect Butte, Montana to pop like that. But
Yeah.
just nothing to do. They go out to every show
Yeah.
to support. So
I love that.
that's the kind of stuff I really love. Okay, so then let's talk about 19. You got signed at 19. Who did you get signed to? What is that? Because I feel like I saw stuff from afar, but I never really got the full details there. So you got signed at 19. How did that happen?
It was crazy. I moved to LA. What? Let me think what happened. I moved to LA. So in high school, I recorded like 200 songs.
Right.
Like I wrote and recorded 200 songs. We would put records out and do nothing with them.
Right.
Like we made like 3 records, and I was just like, we made like 10 copies for our friends.
Right.
So when I graduated high school, I was like, you got all these songs, you should probably do something with them. So I moved to LA, and I was just like focused on like, I want to get a record deal. And it was a while ago. It was like 2010 or 11.
Uh-huh.
So like everything's changed so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I just played to every empty club.
Really?
And like I was super desperate. Like it was not a fun time, but I got a manager somehow, and he knew the A&R and the owner at this label, Bright Antenna.
Mm.
And we did a showcase, and I didn't even have a band. Like I was playing with a guy named Brandon Brown and Stanley Rudolph, and they're like, they play with like Stevie Wonder and like
Whoa.
all these other cool musicians,
session
the Jacksons.
dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best musicians I've ever
Cool.
met. And so we showcased with them, and then like got a record deal, and then the label was like, you should make this a band.
Mm.
So then I found Tony and Dan on Craigslist.
The best place to
The
find
best place, yeah.
And especially Los Angeles
Yeah.
Craigslist, like the
Yo,
whitest net.
It is nuts.
The whitest net.
Oof, that was like I can write a book about
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
about
yeah.
finding musicians on
follow-up,
Craigslist. Yeah, Jesus. But yeah, so then like it was wild because I met them, and then we weren't friends. Like we were just like, Dan had moved out from Jersey like 2 weeks before I met him. Like Tony had already played in bands, he had experience. So then like we made a record like really soon, and then like within 6 months, I think the song hit to radio and we were touring.
Whoa.
And they just threw us in a van, and like we drove across the country
Whoa.
and played, we played to like no one the first
Right.
tour. We got some opening slots with like Middle Class Rut, and then like it was wild. It was like, I think one of the first shows we played was like Baltimore, and there was like 300-400 people there because it was like a radio station
Yeah.
show, and like I was like, what the hell is happening? Because like I just
That's
been
insane.
like writing songs in my parents' house.
Yeah.
So it was pretty quick, and then it was quick, and then we were just touring for like a year and a half straight, 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the part where I always like to slow down because people like I hear like old like Dave Grohl's like, yeah, and then we were doing this. I was like, wait, but the big detail, like how was the manager just at a show? Like
It's a crazy story. So
that's what I love.
this is
The little details.
I forget who it was, the guy from The Office, and he was saying that like everybody who like has like a breaking point, there's some weird like universe like luck thing.
Yeah.
So do you know the Silver Lake Lounge?
Yeah.
Like just like the shittiest little dive
I
bar.
played there, yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
So I had this manager named Samson who actually lives here now, and he's super sweet. He does a podcast too.
Cool.
And he was showcasing me for anybody we could find. So I was playing with another drummer, just like random people, just playing shows with random people. And we had a show at the Silver Lake Lounge, and the bass player didn't show up. So it was just me and a drummer. And like, I was just like, well, I got to play the show.
Right.
Like, whatever, you
Yeah.
know? So again, like, there's no one in the bar. There's like 6 people there, if even.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam brought a guy named Andy Gould and Steve Strange. And Steve Strange was like Eminem's agent, Coldplay's agent, and Andy managed Rob Zombie. So they just came randomly and then like destroyed the show, like basically destroyed the place. And then like
Right.
that was it. So
Wow.
like totally random.
Yeah, cool. That
Yeah.
explains that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing, man. I do love those stories because sometimes this career path, it's a lot about luck.
Yeah.
It's most of it's luck.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people can work really hard and grind, but for those kind of moments where it's like, yeah, and then they just kind of saw me, and then now I'm on the road. Like I didn't start really touring until I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
How was it being out there at 19?
I think I might have been 20 or I don't know. I'm so bad with dates.
Right.
I ran into a friend and I was like, I saw your daughter the other day, and he's like, and I was like, oh, that was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Like, so how was it? It cracked my heart open.
Yeah.
Like, I think I was really tight and really scared. And, you know, when I reflect on touring, like, the shows were great, but for me, the best part was meeting the people.
Yeah.
Like, connecting with people. And
That's what I always say.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, like, hearing that, like, your music had an impact on them, and then,
Yeah.
like, giving them a show, and then, like, seeing how happy that makes them. That's what it was about for me.
I'm always about the hang. I
Yeah.
loved hanging with the dudes
Yeah.
anyone. I've had any sex in the band, but like I love hanging with the band, hanging out with the fans after the show, like at the merch booth. That's the stuff that I love. The show goes by like that.
Yeah.
I don't even remember the show.
Yeah.
The good things that happen and the bad things that happen. I just rolls off my back. But yeah, I agree. That's also my favorite part.
I was just looking up because I realized I had a really hard time touring.
Yeah.
Like, it was both amazing,
Yeah.
but
Awful.
devastating.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how to play shows really. So I would just get on stage and like put all my anger out.
Yeah.
And smash stuff. And then I'd go in this cycle of like, you fucked the show up. That was terrible. And then go into shame. And then like, you should kill yourself.
Yeah.
So like, it was not healthy. And then, you know, I'd have all the day to be anxious about the show.
Yeah.
And that's like, I started playing ayahuasca ceremonies, and before the ceremonies, I had so much nerves come up. Just like my whole body would go like this, and I was like, what is this from?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how much anxiety I had before the show of like, are people going to show up? What if your voice doesn't work?
Yeah.
Like all these things. So it was bittersweet.
Right.
You know?
Oh man. Yeah. I 100% agree. Like I still have that feeling like even when I'm headlining and some people are there, I'm like, these people aren't here for me.
Yo.
They're here for the openers because the openers had to have drawn more than me.
Yeah.
And it's like, I still don't believe that. They're like, no, we're here for you. I'm like, I was
Yo.
like, dude, these openers need to play quicker because everyone's going to leave. Like, I
I
still
know,
have that
no,
mentality.
yeah. Fuck.
Like, people are going to leave. They're not going to wait till the end of the show to
Yeah.
see us. And the rest of the band's like, dude, they're here for you. This is your, like, I think that's probably also being an opener. We're being so used to being an opener.
That's true,
and, like,
right?
I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
write a book about that, about being an opening band. But like, we had the same experience where we showed up to Sacramento, and like, there was a line down the block, and I'm like, what's that? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And like, even the band was like, who are these people? And then like, they're staring at us because like the van comes up,
like, we
and we're
notice
like,
you.
why are they staring at us? And our tour manager's like, you dipshits, like, those are the people here for the show. You know, but the same, like, but that goes back to, like, for me, it goes back to, like, the mental health thing of, like,
Right.
unworthiness, you know,
That
of,
imposter
like,
syndrome.
exactly, that,
yeah.
like, do I, like, did I trick everybody? I felt like that when we had a radio hit. Like, we had a radio hit, and I was like, wow, you really tricked everybody. Like, can't do that again.
Yeah.
Like, just, like, so many limiting beliefs that were not healthy, and I couldn't cherish the success we had.
And when we think about, like, your body and the things it goes through on tour from the lack of sleep, and you said just the adrenaline rush of the show and then that crash after the show, it's weird. People don't get to see that part because you're off or you're packing up and you're just like, yeah, cool show.
Yo, I know.
Zoned out, like, oh shit.
I know.
Because your energy just went up here.
Yo, it's a
you're
lot.
flushed again.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's a big. I had that today from the show last night. But people are so funny because, like, you know, people are like, oh, you toured, and I was like, you want to know what it's like?
Yeah.
You want to know what it's like? 18 hours in a van.
Yeah.
Every day. You're lucky if you eat any food.
Yeah.
You wake up at 8 and you're driving until 4. You eat at a gas station.
Yeah.
You're in a van with 5 men.
Yeah.
Who knows when the last time that bass player showered? And then you get to the venue. Oh, you got to carry 2,000 pounds of gear up 3 flights of stairs.
Right.
Cool. And then you do that. Oh, you got to put all the gear out and sound check. And then by that time, if you're the opening band, you might have 20, 30 minutes to like go get some food. So then you're like running down the street, stuffing falafel in your mouth.
Yeah.
And then you get on stage and you have a falafel belly because you're so full and like you can't move or sing. This is my experience, you know, and then
it's so spot on.
So, and then you play the set and then that's 30 minutes of the day of 24 hours, you know, and then you throw your gear off stage and then you run to the merch booth and now it's time to like, know how to, you hope to God you know how to use a Square reader.
Right.
You know, because people are going to hand you credit cards. I had a guy 2011. He's like, do you take crypto for your CD? And I was like, what is that bullshit? Get it out of here.
Yeah.
It would have
Really?
been worth. I would
Early?
have sold a CD for like $20,000. So that's a side story. Okay, so then you're done with the show. You talk to everybody, and then people want to like buy you drinks or like get you fucked up or give you drugs or like whatever. And then it's like it's midnight maybe, and then you're putting all the gear back in the van. And if you're lucky, you're going to a hotel.
That's very.
If you're lucky, if or you're driving for 2 or 3 hours. And then if you're still lucky, you're checking into a hotel like 3 a.m. You know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I know.
And
it's hitting home right
you're
now.
not going to get paid for it. By the way. Like, it's like, I don't know about you, but like, bro, we switched managers the second record. And he's like, so how much you guys getting paid for tour? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, we're supposed to get paid for this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's like, per diems. And I was like, we didn't get per diems.
Yeah.
Like, it just like never occurred to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a tour manager handling all that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just never occurred to me. Like,
yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I'm
so
like,
silly.
Hearing those kind of stories, I'm like, I'm glad I look at everything. Like, I look at every dollar.
So smart.
Yes, I'm the dude who handles. That's why I can't drink at shows anymore.
Yeah.
One, because I overdid it in my younger days.
Yeah.
And two, it's like I didn't realize I need to be the guy to count
smart.
everything.
Well, because I had tour managers and they're like, we're going out to dinner tonight, and they throw the credit card up, and I was like, that's my bank account, bro.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
That's
Like,
my money. Like,
yeah.
oh,
He's like, don't worry about it. The label pay for it. I was like, my name is
recoupable
on
funds.
that. Yeah, yo. It's like, fucking.
It's all
I'm like, it's not
recoupable.
1994, bro. Like, you can't.
No,
you know?
it's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a crazy time, man.
Yeah,
so
it's
that's
nuts.
what was that project was?
It was Beware of Darkness.
Beware of Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to say the Martyrs. That's how
Yeah.
old we're going.
No, it's
back.
so cool. That was Martyrs is my band before Beware of Darkness.
Cool.
I think.
And Beware of Darkness
Also 3-piece.
is a reference to George
Harrison, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's such a great track, man.
Yeah, it's good.
I've been re-listening at my job. I just did a thing with Peter Frampton for my job.
So cool.
And he's on All Things Must Pass,
What?
uncredited.
No way.
Yeah. Him and Phil Collins.
What?
Did you know that?
No.
I-
I think
I
I heard
wanted to
about Phil
ask him.
Collins. Yeah. You should ask him.
I was so scared.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's Peter Frampton.
I'm sure he'd be stoked to talk about it. I'm sure he'd be stoked.
You know, when they didn't pay, no, they probably paid him. They just probably didn't put him on the record. But
Yeah.
that
Maybe it was
the-
like a label thing or something.
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, man. Okay, so
Wow.
then you guys are touring. The mental health aspect, trying to stay healthy on the road is super important. Something I've been talking about a lot.
Yeah.
Like in those moments where you do have a hotel, I'm all about the tour tips and the band tips on this show.
Amazing.
Because I know a lot of music. Let's be real, it's mostly musicians watching this,
Great.
which is great. Which I
Yeah.
didn't actually realize how important it was until I hit the road.
Yo.
Hey, you're not doing the show. When you do? Hey, I love those episodes. Like, bro,
Oh,
I'm
that's
in a
so cool.
band too, and like, I was like, oh. So I was like, okay, the tour tips.
Amazing.
Do you have any tour tips? One of my biggest tour tips is like, if you are lucky enough to afford that hotel, make sure it has a gym. Get that gym in. Like, even if it's like 30 minutes in that morning before you go get
Yeah.
the shitty
No.
waffle. Like,
That makes a big, yeah.
yeah, that's the kind of stuff to me. It was like huge if you could do that.
Yeah, one of the things that saved me was I would, and this is if finances allow it,
Right.
or if there's like per diems or like
Right.
you have a credit card or something, but I would spend like $200-$300 on food before we leave.
Yeah.
So I'd buy like, and it was all food that you could keep for like
Bagels.
weeks. Yeah, like bagels, like noodles,
Noodles.
like healthy noodles, like oatmeal, like weird fruit packs, you
Yeah.
know, because I can't do the gas station food. So
Oh.
it was just good to know that like I'm also like if I don't eat, I'm just on the floor crying,
Yeah.
you know. So like,
Yeah, I feel
my
like-
blood sugar crashes. I'm like, don't go near me. I'm like everything's fucked, everything's ruined.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful for me, and then running saved me.
Yeah. One of the things, like everyone has their own little thing, and like my big thing is the shower. I just need that
Yeah.
shower every day, or
Yeah.
else I'm not gonna feel good, and it's not gonna be a good day for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think those are all great tips, man. I think it's really hard to be on the road. I think it's really hard, but it's also could be the funnest.
It's the best feeling in the
It's
world.
the best feeling.
I
It could be
mean,
the funnest
you're a
thing you've
pirate,
ever
yo.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing ever. Like, it's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Did you like that more than being in the studio?
No one's ever asked me that.
Studio rat or road dog?
Huh.
That's what the segment's called.
I don't know. Oh, really?
No.
Oh, okay.
It comes up a lot, though, just because I'm curious. Yeah.
We had a hard time with the first record. It was not fun, but playing shows was fun. But I like recording. I like recording up to a point.
Right.
You know, like I can't do like the long days, but yeah. I love writing songs.
I'm like 8 hours max.
Yeah.
Like a shift.
Yeah.
You know, like a regular shift.
Like being in a dark room for 12 hours. I'm like, what? Why is there no lights anywhere?
Yeah.
What's wrong? Like,
I'm also not big on the like, oh, we're starting the session at 8 p.m. and we're going till 4.
Yeah, I can't.
Like, no. I don't do that.
I can't.
I can get there 9 a.m.
Yeah.
We'll go till 5.
What do you like better? Do you like touring or?
I love touring.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I'm like slowly getting really comfortable with the studio, but even then there's still like things like I just don't practice as much as I should.
Yeah.
And with keys and like drums, I'm very tight, but with guitar, I'm just like not tight.
Mm-hmm.
So at least tight enough for me. So I've been doing this like Steely Dan, like just bringing people in, like,
That's
oh,
cool.
you should
Yeah.
play on this because you're better than me. Like
Yeah.
do that. Like on my last record, I played like 2 things on it.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
I'm barely on it. I just
respect
sang
that.
everywhere. Yeah.
I respect that.
Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff I really like. But you're such a good player. Like you can.
Yeah. I do the opposite where on all the Beware of Darkness records, I played everything but drums.
Yeah.
And it was cool, but it's also like I got over that because it just got exhausting.
Yeah.
You know?
And you get those other ideas. Like someone says something or someone plays something.
You know,
miss that.
like
Yeah.
I know what I'm gonna do, but someone else hears it and they're gonna do something that I never could have imagined. You know?
That's the magic.
Mm-hmm.
When you said the first record was tough, like what was tough about it?
It was working with the people. It was not as safe.
Like the engineers?
So
Producers?
Yeah, engineers and producers. It was not. It was traumatizing, but it was also a blessing. So, you know, I think for me, the thing about the studio is it's about safety and it's about vulnerability. You know, and I remember the first day we walked in the studio and I was already depressed and like sensitive and like afraid of everything, you know? So like I had this idea that like making my first record was going to be like the best experience of my life. Like, cause we got like my dream producer on, like we got like people I was stoked about and like the songs were great and like everyone, there was a lot of energy behind it. So, you know, the first thing that the engineer producer said to me was he walks over and pulls me aside and he's like, okay, so here's the record you want, and here's the money you have, and here's the record you're gonna get. And I remember being like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that's a weird first thing to say to
Yeah.
me, you know? So and then the next thing he said was, and my name is gonna go first before you on the credits. And I remember, and this guy was like 50, 60.
Right.
You know, and I was like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't know to say anything, so like I just took it. And then I don't know, it just wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Like I was, you know, we got home every night and like I was like stress running for like an hour in the dark in Eagle Rock. And then our drummer was like freaking out because like, you know, it just wasn't fun. And then like there was just a couple of things where like, you know, I was put in the vocal booth and like made to sing something like 100 times.
Right.
And like they knew I couldn't do it and they kept like, it was like beratement and that.
Yeah.
And like I don't do well with that.
Right.
You know, like I'm sensitive. Like now I would like, if I knew what I knew now, I just would have told everyone to fuck off.
Yeah.
You know, but I didn't because it was like, they did that thing of like, you know, it was just like fucking dumb shit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, hey, we need to change this on the mix. And he's like, how many records did you sell? Like, here's how many records I sold. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. We're paying you.
Yeah.
You know?
This
and then
is a job.
like, this was definitely a mix note where like, I was like, yo, we need to turn this down. He's like, well, we're going to be dead one day. Just like, don't worry about it. And I'm like, yeah, it was like something like that. And then like, I clapped back and then like, he got sensitive about it. And then like, it was just wild. So then like, and then the whole time I'm having like a depression breakdown.
Right.
Because I was already depressed and now like this process is not going well. I didn't know how to communicate it to anybody. I was scared of everybody. So then like our manager calls us into the office and because he knew something was wrong and he pulls me in, and this is in my book too. He pulls me in and he's like, yo, in my 40 years of making a record, of working with artists making records, I've never seen anyone as depressed as you are. Like anyone is sad or like not excited. He's like, what's wrong? And like, I didn't know what depression was. I didn't know what anxiety was because like no one talked about it.
Right.
So I had so much shame because I knew something was wrong and especially during this like pivotal moment for me where I'm like, wow, like I'm doing it. So he's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I think I'm depressed. And he's like, if you're so depressed, just go kill yourself. And like he said that to me. So it was just like all these fucking like just men, like older men coming at me with this wild energy.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to defend myself. I didn't know how to stand up for myself. So, and then we finished the record, and it's a great record. People like it, but
cool.
But
how do you feel about it?
It's interesting because I wound up producing half of it. Like half of my songs made it, and it destroyed my creativity. Like I could write songs in like 20 minutes before, just like that, like ideas, lyrics. And after that record, I couldn't write. Like I couldn't, it took me 2 months to write a verse, and then I would give up on it, you know? So it was like, I had like a big trauma response to that. And it took me like 5 to 7 years to like get over that with like serious creative, like lots of psychedelics, lots of, you know, artist way stuff. So it was really sweet and sour.
Yeah.
And it was also weird because like that was this, like we got successful from that record. Right. Like there was a hit on that record, and like people responded to it, and we got all these tours, you know? So it was really confusing. It was really confusing.
Because then you're like,
to be that young.
Is that the right way?
Yeah.
Because you're like, is that the right way?
Yeah.
To like, you know, pressure makes a diamond, and there's all these different things that are ingrained in, and that's like totally bleed over from the old industry. Like, at least from the industry people I've talked to, like, it's not, I don't know, the younger labels and stuff like that, they're a lot nicer.
Yeah.
And they are more understanding.
Yeah.
But I think that old guard is still there. And that's just how they fucking treated people for decades. Toxic. This toxic work environment.
It was toxic.
The music industry.
Yeah. It was super toxic. And yeah, so then, you know, we got put on the road after that, like really quick. And then, you know, like, again, like I didn't have therapy. I didn't have any tools. I didn't know what depression was. So we toured for like 1.5 years straight. And then like, I just hit a point where I was like, I'm tearing everything apart. Like, because this, like all this stuff hurt me so much that like, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And then so like basically like fired the whole band, like came back here to like recover. And then I was in a publishing deal. So I was like, oh man, I'm going to get like 6 figures if I like give them a record, you know? So I was like, I'm just going to write another record. Yeah. And it was weird because people were like, can you write more songs like Howl? And I was like, I don't know. Like I wrote that in a fucking hallway. Yeah. Like I literally wrote that because I was like, I was listening to Band of Skulls, and I was like, they can write shitty rock music. Like, I guess I can write shitty rock music too. And I wrote that song, and then like, it was a fucking hit. It's funny as hell. Yeah. So then
it got a big sync too.
Yeah.
It was in that car commercial.
Yeah, I got a car commercial. I got a lot of syncs. Yeah. It was cool. And then, I write. So I spent a whole year writing this record to get this publishing deal, and then at the last minute, my guy leaves. And this girl comes in who's in charge of me, and she's like, who are you? And like, I give her the record, and she's like, I don't want this. So that was crazy. And then like, I broke up, like, it was nuts. Like, I broke up with my girlfriend of like 2 or 3 years, like the same week that fell apart. And then it was cool because we toured the record a little bit. And then like, I went through like a bunch of drummers and bass players, and it just stopped being fun. Yeah. It was nuts. There was some like crazy stories where I'm like, I'm never going to be in a band ever again. Like, I can't.
No. Why would you want to?
Yeah.
It like took everything. And then in that moment, you have to think about that kid.
Yeah.
Who your inner child.
Yeah.
And like Chris Cohen, I did an interview with him. I always quote this quote because he asked me this on the podcast, and it like floored me. He was like, what did you think being in a band was going to be when you were a kid and versus what it became? That's
such a good story.
I was like, fuck. Well, I thought it was going to be way different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was playing air guitar in my bedroom thinking this is going to be so fun if I ever got to do this.
That's so true. Yeah. Because you hear all these stories where like, oh, they grew up together, they're best friends, they picked up the guitar at the same time. I wanted that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I got 2 dudes on Craigslist, you know? And we're like in the van being like, what's your last name? Like, where are you from? You know? Yeah. And like, it was wild. Right. Like it was wild. I mean,
and then in the same way, they're your like employees in a weird, fucked up way. That's a weird dynamic people don't talk about.
I'm sure you dealt with this too, because like one of the biggest snags was the band agreements.
Yeah.
Because you're like me probably, where it's like
Yeah.
it's your thing.
It's my thing. Yeah.
And people said that to me all the time, and I was like, no, it's not. It's like it's a band.
A band, yeah.
And it wasn't a fucking band.
No,
you know,
it
like
was-
I wrote all the songs, I did everything, I made all the decisions. I tried to structure it as a band, it didn't work.
Yeah.
You know, and then like it was nuts because like the amount of like resentment and like stuff that came up and like secrecy, like it was weird.
Yeah.
It was weird because
Yeah.
then my manager is telling me like they're replaceable. Don't tell them this, like, don't. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
So it's hard to have that like brotherhood or just like a
Yeah.
family element.
Yeah.
When it's like, oh man,
yeah,
you could be fired.
Yeah.
Or like let go.
that's true too.
You
And
know?
it was wild because like I had a bunch of shame because I don't know if I got gaslit or what, but like it was like I got made to be some kind of like dictator demon.
Yeah.
And like I like it wasn't until I looked back on like what actually happened and I was like, this was cherry.
Yeah.
Like everything was good. Like, but I don't know. It's wild.
Yeah. And if
It's
you haven't had
wild.
like enough business experience,
I don't
dude,
even know
like-
what to say.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. And then everyone wants to get paid more, and you're like, dude, I wish we made more. Like,
That's the
I would
thing.
pay you
And
more
then
if
they
we
always-
made more.
They always think they're like, yo, they're like, bro, you have money.
It's like,
There's, and I'm like, really? I'm like, yo, like I'm with my family right now.
yeah,
Like,
totally.
yeah,
And like,
man.
and I will say, like, this is part of my own personal growth that I will like admit to you, being someone on the outside and like being at my friend's house and seeing that fucking car commercial and being so jealous. But that's like my journey. I wouldn't be like that now. I would
Yeah.
actually be celebrating you.
Yeah.
But I would hear that riff and be like, I fucking know that guy.
Oh my
but I'm
gosh.
here right now, you know?
The-
But that's also a driving thing. It also motivated me to go out and write, you know?
I relate to that so much though,
Yeah.
because when I was like, do you remember the band Them Terribles?
Yeah.
So like, it was my driving factor jealousy because I remember when they got on MTV.
Yeah.
And I saw that one day going to school and like had a breakdown.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? But
Yeah.
like, the thing about that is that I still do with it sometimes, but it's not as much.
Right.
But, and I appreciate you saying that because
Right. Yeah, because that's not me anymore.
yeah,
You
no,
know?
yeah. And like, I have a funny quote about bands that I want to tell you after this too. But jealousy is wild because it's like, it takes you out of trusting your own life path.
Yeah.
Because I would get jealous. Man, I hated every band.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you, but like when I was like 18 to 22, I was like, if another band got something, I was like, I'd have breakdowns because I was like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with my band? Like, what's wrong with me? Like, why are they getting this? And it's miserable. It was so poisonous because like the only person it hurts is yourself.
I know.
You know?
like,
So
yeah.
like, I was like, bro, it was so bad. Like, I remember reading Rolling Stone at like 14 and like seeing other bands and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I don't know, like, yo, I have so many dumb stories like this, but like,
Totally.
I think I've told this. I don't know if I've told this story on. I don't think I've told the story publicly yet. But
Yeah.
when we were first starting out, it wasn't even Beware, or it might have been Beware of Darkness. But our agent was like, "Hey, do you want to play the show in Santa Barbara at Velvet Jones with this band? Like they're about to pop." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever, we'll do it." So like we get there. My dad had a Greek restaurant called the Greek House.
Yes, I
yeah,
remember the
that?
Greek
Yeah,
House.
so,
Shout out
like,
to the Greek House.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
like we have a little party at the Greek House. We go play the set, and there's like 15, 14-year-old girls in the audience, and like we come out just like rocking hard. And these girls are looking at us like this, and like we're looking at them like, what are girls doing in the audience? Like we're used to like 65-year-old men being like, yeah. This reminds me of Megadeth,
Right.
you know? And like, so then like we get off stage, and then the band gets on, and they have this big drum, and it's dramatic, and we're watching them, and I'm like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And I look at Tony and Dan, and they're just like, what is this?
Yeah.
So then they get off stage, the singer's not talking to anybody, like he's on vocal rest, and I'm like, well, this is great. And it was Imagine Dragons. And like 6 months later, they're like the biggest band in the world, and like we didn't talk to them because we were like, fuck these guys are terrible.
Yeah.
And like I have so many stories like that, you know, because I was just like, fuck everybody, like I'm the best band, you know. And like
Dude,
so arrogant.
I have the same story, except they did talk to us a little bit and they were nice, but it was Walk the Moon.
Really?
And like the next year,
Yo.
Shut Up and Dance With Me came out.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, that band And nice, I don't even want to talk too much shit, but like, they were nice. They talked to us, but we just didn't get it.
Yeah.
We didn't get it at all.
Yeah.
But
and that's okay.
I
mean, that's not talking shit,
No, that's not talking shit. I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I applaud. I don't know what they're doing now. Actually, I do know what they're doing now.
Really?
Yeah. He's like in business with my girlfriend's aunt.
Oh, that's cool.
Because she was like, "Oh, I'm in business with Walk the." This might get cut out. I don't know.
Yeah. That's okay.
He's like, "Oh, I'm in business with so and so from Walk the Moon." I was like, "Oh, I played a show with that dude when I was 22."
Yeah.
Also open for Hello Goodbye, same thing.
Wow.
Like 10 kids and their dads at the Ventura Majestic. Wow. I was like, "Oh, wow, nobody's here."
Yeah.
They were somebody at some point. That's whatever. That was kind of another weird show we played too.
That's wild.
Yeah, that I think about.
So wild. It's like the ocean, the waves of bands that come and go.
Yeah. Man, one other thing on the topic of jealousy, when I saw you on Conan, I was like, I want to fucking do that. It wasn't even you. Yeah. It wasn't even the anger was at you. I was like, I want to do that. I feel incomplete. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, I'm probably never going to do that. Not because I can't, because that medium is dying. I want to know your experience. Anymore. What did you think of doing a late night show? Did you guys get more fans? Was it worth it? I talked to someone in PR. They said that shit's not even moving the needle anymore. And this was like 2015. He told me that.
It was crazy because that's a good question. I haven't talked about this. It's hard. It was hard for me to talk about for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we played it. We played the show. We played the show like the same. It was like the same night as our release party, or we had a record release party the day before, and we were on tour. So we left the tour, and like, we're playing to no one on this tour. I remember we played a show in Louisiana, and a dad and his son come, and they walk in the empty venue, and they're like, "Where is everyone? We drove 3 hours to come here." And I was like, I hope y'all buy some merch.
Yeah, I've had that conversation too with people. Oh, I thought more people would be here. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. So we flew back to LA for that. And then it went great. I got wasted and ate In-N-Out that night, stayed in Burbank. And then we flew back out, and we all thought that it was going to do something, Yeah. And then the next night we're playing to like 6 people again. Yeah. So it was amazing. It was really cool to say, and I think it was more like a validation.
Yeah.
Where people saw that and they're like, "Whoa, that's like," people still talk to me about that.
Totally.
And then my brain goes like, I go back to Santa Barbara after the tour, and my brain goes like, "You peaked. That's it. That's the only thing you're gonna do." And like even a year after that, I was like, "What have you done since Conan?" Like that's where my brain was at. Oh, yeah. So it almost became like a hostage situation, where I was like, "Oh my God, what if I never do anything as cool as that?" Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So it was
I get
like
what you're
it
saying.
goes back to like the mental game, where it was interesting because like we did that. I didn't feel successful. I did not celebrate that at all.
Really?
And I never felt like I made it, even though we did all that stuff. And it was interesting. So, and then I asked that question, I'm like, what's it worth?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool.
It was very cool.
No, it was amazing. Yeah.
Looking back,
amazing.
I'm like, dude, that's sick because
I love
Conan
fucking awesome.
is the best one. He was the best late night.
Yeah, and he was super nice. Yeah. I ran into him like at a mall a couple months ago, and he was super sweet. Yeah. I was like, I played on your show. He's like, what band are you in? He's like, I don't remember that. I played 1,000 bands. I was like, dude, I don't expect you to. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. He's like, do you want a picture? And I was like, not really, but yeah, we could take one.
He seems like a sweet guy.
He was super sweet.
He was just trying to let me give you something.
No, man. I was stoked to get a picture. I wouldn't ask for it. I was stoked to get it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm like 5'4", and he's like 6'6". So
there's a lot of that doing music for so long, like these milestones and the uncertainty of like, will there be more?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I played the bowl.
What?
Santa Barbara Bowl.
No way.
For KJE.
I think I was jealous of that. You know that? I think I saw you playing and I was like, fuck. I wish I was doing that. So we're even now.
Yeah. We're even now. Yeah. I get back from a tour. We do South by, which is fucking terrible. South by was not fun.
Yeah.
But then but it looks good. So
Yeah,
I think Fat
that's
J
the
was
same
like,
thing.
hey,
Yeah.
they just did South by.
Yo.
Like, we sold out Soho for the very first time. So they asked us.
That's huge.
And so I get the call from Fat J, and he's like, hey, you guys want, what are you doing May 13th? And I was like,
That's such a good shave
the
voice.
day after my birthday. He's like, how would you like to play the Santa Barbara Bowl?
Oh
like,
my
he's like, I was like,
God.
are you on the radio right now?
Oh my God.
I was like, okay, yeah, it sounds good. But in the back of my mind, I had such a good day, and it was like such a high. I was like, is this it?
Yeah.
Am I done now? Because for a lot of Santa Barbara bands, that's it. You did it.
Yeah.
That was the one thing you were supposed to do.
Yeah. Yo.
And I was like, oh, I can't let that show define me. I'd go to a bar or something. Dude, how was the bowl?
Yeah.
How was the bowl? Everyone asked me, how was the bowl? I was like, insane.
Yeah.
But I'm not done, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
is this it? So that was my biggest fear after that show.
Yo, it's valid though, because like,
Yeah.
it's valid.
Yeah.
I remember being in Europe and I was like, you might not tour this again.
Yeah.
I was like, you got to treasure this,
Yeah.
So-
That's how I started filming.
What?
That's when I bought these cameras.
Oh, that's
I started
smart.
filming
That's
everything.
smart.
And I can look back on it, or I can make a vlog and put it on YouTube and be like, oh, yeah, that was fun.
You know what's even what's been a big brain fuck for me, which you might appreciate this, is it has been so hard for me to let go of Beware Darkness.
Mm.
It has been so hard for me. It's been like a girlfriend I can't break up with.
Yeah.
Because it was this idea of like, am I allowed to leave the rock band and like start something new or like do something else?
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe for me it was just, maybe it sounds ridiculous,
No.
but like this idea of like, outgrowing things that don't serve you anymore.
Yeah.
And like being willing to change once like you don't get fulfillment out of it. Cause I look back and I'm like, I stopped getting fulfillment out of it a while ago, like 5 or 6 years ago. But everyone around me was like, yo, you're great in a rock band. You should make rock music. Like you're meant to do this. And I'm like, am I?
Yeah.
And I kept trying it and it kept getting the same feeling of like being torn apart.
Yeah.
And then finally, like this last winter, I was like, I'm done. Like I had to do like a ceremony, I had to close it out. I was like, no mas.
So you're not going to play any more shows under that name?
Not right now.
Yeah.
Not right now. I'm in bookland and authorland and
Cool. And you're finding fulfillment in the writing process?
yeah.
It's a little calmer.
It's been the most yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm sure the editing process, like when you finally get pages back and there's
what's
lines
funny?
written all over it.
Well, no, it was it's funny because someone else asked me this, or like, how is it writing a book compared to making a record? I didn't want to make a record because like the process seemed exhausting, because like I want to make records alone in my bedroom with programmed drums and like play everything, so like the idea of like bringing in musicians and mixing and mastering and like production and doing all these things, like I like the idea of just like writing a book and like bringing on like 2 or 3 people, it seemed amazing.
Cool.
Like quiet,
Yeah.
like it was just me in a kitchen alone for like a year and a half.
Dude, yeah, let's talk about that writing process, because I have an idea. I've romanticized the idea of writing a book. I would never do it, but like the idea of like waking up, no YouTube, just quiet, and you're just with your thoughts. Is that kind of what it's like? Or what are you doing? What's your you waking up?
I had to be militant with it. So when I first started, also I got diagnosed ADHD like 3 months ago. Had no idea. I wrote this whole book not knowing that, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I couldn't sit down and concentrate for more than like 10 or 15 minutes when I started. So what I would do is like, I would wake up at like 6 or 7. I had the same morning routine, which was like 20 minutes transcendental meditation, morning pages, where free write 3 pages, eat 2 eggs, decaf coffee, shower. And then from like, I worked up to this but from 9 to 12 or 8 to 12, it was just writing.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't look at my phone, which was hard as hell.
Yeah.
So like no texts, no calls before noon. And then I would take a break around 10 and eat dark chocolate. Like the amount of dark chocolate I ate during this book writing process, like alarming. Like dark chocolate, and there's a root beer. I don't know. I forget what it's called. It's amazing.
Is it like not a real root beer type thing?
It's
like
one of those like
Olipop?
it's an Olipop. Yeah, that's it. Yo.
Dude. I'm a big supporter of
What?
Olipop. I fucking
Please
love those
sponsor.
things.
Yeah.
Please sponsor the podcast. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't drank soda since I was a kid. It's the closest thing I can get.
My
It's
God.
so fun.
That's like cocaine now.
Oh,
Jesus. Yeah. So the most important part was just showing up every day and doing it, and I had this motivating factor where a guy I know has been writing a memoir for 5 or 6 years. And I was like, you can't be that guy.
Yeah.
I was like, you got to wrap this up in like 6 months to a year. And then the crazy thing, like speaking of the rock band thing, the crazy thing was my buddy came and he's like, hey, it's my birthday in a month. Like, let's make a record. And like, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it sounds great. And then I'm like, I don't have any songs. So then like, I like fucking stress wrote like 15 songs. We made a record, like took me out of the book process. And then, you know, I go back in the book process and then he's like, I think we need 10 more songs. Like this record's not good enough. So then I like go back and I'm like pulling from like, pulling from all the ideas I can.
Right.
And then we finished a Beware Darkness record during the book writing process. So it was nuts. And then I like dove back into the book and the process was a mess too. Cause like,
Yeah.
you know, I started without an outline. I just wrote for like 3 months, made a mess. And then I was like, you should probably get an outline.
Yeah.
You know, and then like I
structure.
wrote like 4 or 5 books about how to write books. And like Neil Strauss, like the timing of this was nuts because he wrote an email blast about like how to write a book.
Yeah.
So I was just reading that. And, you know, I was like, bro, no one taught you how to write songs or no one told you could write songs. So I was like, the book's the same way.
Right.
Like you don't need anyone's permission. Just go do it. So, and then I got another outline done, then destroyed that outline again. And then like you know, and granted, there was a year where I was like, not sure if I'm going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Like not sure if this is going to work. And then finally, I don't know if I went to Greece to like finish the book. And there was a moment where I looked at it and I was like, oh, there's a book here. Like the structure came out and then like that got me super hyped.
Yeah.
So it was wild. It was the wildest thing I've ever.
Dude, what a process.
Yeah. I was, you know, like and then if you want to hear the story behind that story was like, I did a ayahuasca ceremony in December right before the pandemic. And I got this message where she's like, you should write a kid's book. And I was like, about like, everyone has a little garden in their heart. And it's like how you tend to the garden, you know, matters. And I was like, okay. And then I forgot about it, but there was an idea planted in my head of like, oh, you could write a book.
Yeah.
So then I was at, I had an idea for a blog of like, I wanted to write all the things that helped me with depression. So I go to Earth Cafe one day with all the hippies, all the vegans.
Mm-hmm.
I sit down and I start to write the blog and like, it doesn't work. Like nothing works about it. Like it was like 10 ideas to help your depression. Just like I came up with like 1.5 and I got pissed and then I forgot about it. So then I started doing the Artist's Way like 6 months later, mid-pandemic. And I go to Handlebar and I'm sitting down and for some reason I started thinking about that blog and I was like, oh, it's not a blog because it's a book.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, fuck.
I'm going to write a book.
Yeah. I was like, oh God, like this is, you know, and then like I do what I do, which is like, I don't think about things and just jump head first into it. Cause if I would have thought of like the time and money, it, like, you know, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Cause I would have just overthought it, but I just like jumped in and I was like, whatever. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. It's been the most meaningful thing I've ever done.
Yeah. And it's physical. It's a real thing.
It's wild. Yeah. And you know, the biggest difference between this and music was that music was ego driven, where like I wanted to be in a band to be somebody or like prove that I mattered, you know, and like get famous because I was like, I want people to love me or care about me. And this is completely opposite. It's more about service.
Yeah. And that's
makes a difference.
It's a huge difference and it makes it easier.
Yeah.
It makes it more fun.
It does.
It's way more giving when I'm finally giving back now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like every time I sell one, it feels really good.
That's awesome.
Like the energy feels good. Like I tell people about it and people are just like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like just like doors are opening. So
right. And as much as we want people to buy the book, like what are some of the things that you could even say right now that like some major factors that
about the book
or just like what helped you battle
with depression,
battle against
depression,
or I don't know. How would you even,
so the biggest shift for me was plant medicine. So it was ayahuasca specifically.
Oh yeah.
So there was a parallel story along my depression, and I was depressed from like probably started around like 17 or 18 to 28. So it was like a decade. And like when it was weird because when I got signed, I was so ready to just check out of this planet. I was done.
Yeah. I
was like, this life has nothing to offer me. I don't want to be here. I felt like I was 95. I was going to cemeteries like 4 times a week, just like really morbid stuff. So all along that whole decade, I had this spiritual lack, the spiritual void, where all I wanted was some kind of affirmation that there was something bigger than me, that I was being guided in some way, that there was some kind of like benevolent force that had my back. And I would go to churches, I would read spiritual texts, I would go to these sacred spaces, and I got met with nothing, like silence. And it was demoralizing. And when that happened, depression just doubled down, and it was like, you're meaningless, you don't matter, it's a joke, your life's a joke, like all these things. So this short story was, again, like the chain of events it's really auspicious, because I did a solo tour with a guy named Alec Benjamin, got off, was drinking a bunch because post-tour depression, like the letdown of coming off tour, it's brutal. So I was in Santa Barbara drinking a bunch, got sober, got on antidepressants for 6 months, and for the first time in 10 years I wasn't depressed. And I felt like I was a baby, because I was like, I need to relook at everything in my life again. So then and then a friend was like, you should do ayahuasca. And then I got off antidepressants and did ayahuasca. And within 2 nights, it took away 10 years of depression.
Really?
It was nuts.
Did you find a place in LA to do it?
No, we did it in Petaluma. No, somewhere up north.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was cool.
I was just watching another podcast with the comedians, and they were doing ayahuasca. And the one comedian was like, yeah, did you like go to like some island or something? No, I was in the valley. It's like, oh, and I imagine they give you this wooden bowl.
Yeah.
No, it was a paper cup.
Yeah.
Like,
it's so
like
funny.
the idea and the romanticized version of ayahuasca versus the reality of it.
I did it in an office building on La Cienega.
Yeah.
Like waking up at 7 a.m., like haggard as fuck, walking out, and there's like doctors everywhere looking at me like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I just saw angels in this room over here last night. It was nuts. I've done it in Inglewood, at like a little like fucked up little house in Inglewood. Like I've done it in a lot of places where I look back and I'm like, Jesus. It's great.
And how are you finding these? Are you just like Googling it, ayahuasca like experience? Like, how do you even find something?
Again, like it's been some kind of magical thing where like I was hitting up, I don't remember why, but I started hitting up, the first time I did it, I was hitting up the head of my record label. I was like, we should do this. And I was bugging her about it.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay. And then she like called my bluff. And we put a group together of like 8 people, and we went and did it for the first time. And then like, you know, that shaman was leading retreats in LA, which I went to a couple times, and there's like a whole community in LA.
Yeah.
And then I sent a text last year to a girl who runs ceremonies, and I was like, hey, if you ever need music for these ceremonies, I'm more than happy to help. Thinking I could just come in and do like a Beatles cover and like do whatever I want. And she's like, okay, that's great. I'll send you the songbook. And I was like, what songbook? Yeah. And she sends me a songbook, and it's like 60. She's like, we have a ceremony next week. Like, I'll see you there. And she sent me a songbook with 60 songs in it. And I was like, dear God. And I learned, they're all in Spanish or Portuguese or like Sanskrit. So I learned like 30 of them. And then I've been playing at the medicine ceremonies for like 10 months.
Wow.
It's been I got to tell you, 10 years being in a rock band, playing to like 40,000 people does not hold a candle to playing on ayahuasca to like a room of 10 people.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Wow.
Nuts.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first time you did it, it helped, obviously.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, I feel like the word cure is a bad word, but like it really helped.
So what it
got you to a point.
What it did was it gave me the first time I did it, it did 2 things for my depression. I just got off a total tangent.
Right.
But it showed me the root of my depression, which is something no amount of talk therapy, no amount of like any conscious work would have done, which is showed me that my depression, the root of it was spiritual ignorance, like forgetting my true nature, forgetting that every human being on earth is divinity incarnate. So it brought me back to this connection with God and the divine. And then it did that through the journey of just being in boundless, expansive planes. So like just infinite planes of being. And I was like, oh, I've been here before. So it was almost like coming home. And then it showed me there's something bigger than me, guiding me. Like that was the other thing. Like the medicine was like, I've been here the whole time. You just couldn't see me. You were just focused on it. It was like your radio was not tuned to that frequency yet.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So it It was the most profound 2 days of my entire life, like the most important 2 days of my entire life, and it changed everything.
Wow.
Like literally everything was different from that moment. Like I'm struggling to like come up with words about how profound it was, but
Right.
it was like,
That's okay.
yeah.
So would you say you go once a month to do it? Maybe once every 6 months? Like how frequent?
It's been off and on. So when I did that, I did it like 6 times in 6 months. So it was like every other month. Sorry. And when I say 6 times, it's a weekend. So it's 2 nights.
Oh, okay. And you're camping?
No,
you're not staying the night.
It's wild, yo. Okay. I mean, it's so wild. They rent an Airbnb out, and you walk in, there's like 30 mattresses everywhere. This is now there's less people. There's like, can be 10 to 20. Mm-hmm. You walk in, there's 30 mattresses everywhere.
It's all right.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it should be fun.
Okay. Drummers, yo. Fucking drummers. I can't.
Sunday night.
So you walk in and there's like 30 mattresses everywhere. There's sage burning, bunch of hippies, and yeah, you're there for 2 nights.
Wow.
And you're doing a ceremony Friday night. You're drinking San Pedro, which is wachuma, during the day, and then doing another ayahuasca ceremony Saturday night, and then San Pedro during the day, and then Sunday night you're driving home.
Wow.
So it's really powerful. It's really intense.
Yeah.
So I did it I did it for 6 months, and then I was like, I want to do all the psychedelics, you know? So then like somebody was like, here's Bufo, here's 5-MeO-DMT, which was the best experience in my life. Again, like that experience made every single second of depression worth it. Like 10 years of depression worth it to experience that. And there's like combo, and then mushrooms, and the pandemic hit, so I took a break. And then a year ago, I did 2 medicine ceremonies this was the weirdest birthday gift I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
I took myself to ayahuasca ceremony for my birthday, and I was like, it's going to be a celebration. And like, it was all about my fear of death. Wow. And like just coming to terms with like, I'm going to die one day. And I was like, what am I doing for my birthday? Like, this is so weird, you know? And then I started playing ceremonies, and then it's been like, I was in like a 9-month, like doing it twice a month.
Wow.
Which was a little bit too much.
Yeah.
So I'm like taking a break now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think we might need to pause.
Okay, that's totally fine. That's the medicine being like, you're not going to talk about this right now.
Oh, that is a sign. Maybe that is a sign.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so for my birthday a year ago, I bought myself an ayahuasca weekend.
Yeah.
And it was a wild, like, I think me and my girlfriend were like about to break up for the first time. And then, I thought it was going to be a celebration. It was all about dying. It was all about death.
Yeah.
It was brutal. Wow. Like it was about death. And the second night was about like how much I'm not happy with my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, I felt so broken. So it was what I needed. And then I did another one. It was equally as horrifying, but I started playing medicine ceremonies, and I just got off this like 10-month, like, it felt like it was like a master class. Yeah. Because honestly, like it was 2 or 3 times a month for like 9 or 10 months playing ceremonies. And it's basically like you're up for 2 nights. I was drinking medicine, and I was talking, somebody yesterday was like, well, I talked about being nervous for shows before, but when you drink medicine and then you accidentally get pulled into another astral plane, or like you're facing your like biggest trauma or like some terrifying thing, and then someone's like, hey, are you ready to play music now? And you're like, what? The shaman comes over, she's like, are you okay, Kyle? Like it's time for songs. Oh. And it's like, I was like, okay, I gotta play. Yeah. So it's interesting because like I wasn't thinking about playing live again, but then that lit that spark again, and then people started asking for it. So I was like, oh wow. So I'm royally thankful for the medicine for that.
That's amazing. And how was that compared to like last night's show you just did at Yellow Soup?
Well, so that's what last night's show was I basically I wanted to arrange it like a ceremony without the medicine. Yeah. So
I don't think we have really anything like that right now in Santa Barbara.
Maybe not.
Yeah, not a big ayahuasca scene here.
There's actually these motherfuckers are crazy. Really? I did a ceremony with some people up here, and it was like Santa Barbara party ethos of plant medicine. It was nuts. Like I could barely.
Up in the mountains or something?
No, it was on. Yeah, it was. Yeah. I could barely hang, and it was a bunch of boomers, and I was like, these motherfuckers are going hard as hell. Yeah. Drank like 3 times the amount of medicine. Oh my god. Hitting rape super hard, which is like tobacco. Yeah, it was nuts.
Leave it to
like
Santa Barbara to
mad
just
respect.
take it to that next
Literally,
level, dude.
yo, it was like I was like one of the youngest dudes there, and I was looking at these guys, and I was like, holy fuck,
Yeah.
holy hell. But yeah, so I don't know. I wanted to do something sacred, and like I want to walk that line because I don't want to be the dude wearing a poncho,
Right.
shaking you, being like, "You need to do ayahuasca.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah.
change your life." Because that's creepy. It doesn't work. I've had people do that to me, and it's really upsetting.
Yeah.
So like, I'm writing songs with my girlfriend right now. Her name's Marcy, and she's incredible. And we're writing the songs, and we're like walking that line of like, if you're not spiritual, you like the song because it's cool. But if you are spiritual, you can see the message in there.
Right.
So like, that's kind of what the show was last night. We're like, started with like intention setting, a meditation, calling in angels, guardians, and then also saying like, this is your hour, this is your 2 hours, like just relax, whatever you need, whatever's nourishing to you, take that. And I'm just going to play music and channel the energy in and bring it. And it was really beautiful.
That's amazing.
Like people came up and they're like some girls I didn't know came up and they're like, we cried the whole time. It was super healing. So like it's been like a long weird path of like me getting back to music and playing live again and like doing it in a way that feels authentic.
Yeah.
Because like it was wild playing medicine songs where like I'm like, I can't play rock music anymore.
Yeah.
Like when you start singing, like it's nuts. Like you're playing in a room on medicine and you realize like there's deities, there's spirits there, and like the music you're playing, like you're dancing with them, and there's just other entities in that room, and then you see it affect people. It's a whole different level than like being on stage. For me, like being on stage with, you know, two musicians like shredding and being like, look how cool I am, which is cool too. That's cool.
No,
like, again, there's no right or wrong here.
Right. There's no right.
But I guess like
no
it
rules.
just it became more fulfilling for me to do that. And like I learned a couple cover songs for a couple like gigs I played, and I was just felt disconnected from it. So that's also been a weird head trip for me too, of like the rock band just doesn't work anymore.
Right.
So it's cool though. It's just I'm stepping into something more meaningful.
Man, the rock band isn't working mentally, emotionally, or financially right now.
Yo,
touring has gotten so expensive.
I was gonna ask you about that because
gas
I don't
is
know.
so expensive
Really?
right
Oof.
now. Yeah, no, it's the margins have been cut. Any money we like could have made.
Wow.
Yeah. It's hard. It's more expensive to eat now. It's
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, all that kind of shit. Like,
and there's probably so many bands out too, right?
yeah, and van rentals are like a little bit more scarce because so many bands are touring.
Wow.
Everyone's trying to catch up. So that
Wow.
kind of aspect is very hard. We've gotten pretty lucky with maybe the headliner lets us use their kit. Okay, we could do a minivan. We could squeeze all of our shit into a minivan.
Wow.
Enterprise has minivans. Shout out to Enterprise.
Yeah. No,
I don't know what we're doing with these vans. The woman's like, you drove 8,000 miles? I was like, shit, yeah, big trip, big weekend, big 2 weeks.
Yo, that's so funny. Yeah. No, but it was like, even the show last night, like I made money through ticket sales and like merch, and I was like, oh wow, I got paid. I think I got paid for a show last night. Like that didn't happen with the band.
Yeah.
Like we barely broke even.
Yeah.
Nuts.
The expenses are just dropped considerably when it's just the two of you and it's just acoustic.
Yeah.
It's just,
I'm going to keep doing that now.
Yeah.
And it's easy as hell.
It's fun, yeah.
Yo, oh my God, the amount of stories. I'm sure you have so many crazy stories.
I know. I share them a lot on this
Do you?
thing. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, just like, you know, I didn't get to do, especially, you know, without doing a lot of these last year.
Yeah.
There's more of just like insanity. God. Yeah. It's interesting time to be a musician, man.
Yeah.
An aging musician at that. Like, you know, I'm 32, but like in music world, that's, how long do you keep doing that, bud? Like that's like I'm getting a lot of that from like family.
You feel like that?
A little bit from like family and stuff. Since I got like a more stable job, those questions have kind of stopped.
Yeah.
But they're definitely around like, how about marriage now? It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
You know, it's
interesting.
It's interesting. It's crazy because I'm 32 too, and like when I was 26, I was like, "You're over the hill."
Oh, I know.
And like 32, I'm like, "Oh, it's chill." You can go to like 45.
Yeah.
Because like being in a rock band or like country music, like you can do it forever.
Oh yeah.
But I don't want to be in a fucking van again. That's the thing. I don't want to be in a fucking van ever again. Don't put me near that.
Do you think gang in a van might trigger some of those?
Nah, I just don't want to do it.
Oh, okay.
I'm fussy, yo.
Yeah.
Put me in a Sprinter van.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something. I forgot what it was.
Dude, I
was gonna ask you a question. I don't know. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I did like a few shows in a Sprinter van. I was like, dude, if anyone ever bitches about touring in this fucking thing, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like one of those Mercedes, like all the space in the world. I was like, dude, if you can't handle this, I was like, go back to the minivan. And they complained to me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh man, what was I gonna say?
What were you gonna say? Yeah.
32.
32.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think it was about that. I think it was about the aging.
Yeah, and like every opener's younger than you, and they're all asking you like for advice.
Oh, wow.
I'm getting that a lot now.
Really?
The OG.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is cool. I love to like share that knowledge. Like, hey man, how do I, you're from San, how do I book a tour through there? I'm like,
wow.
Hit me up on Instagram. I can walk you through it, or I can just tell you now, but you're gonna forget it. Like,
yo, it's so funny.
Yeah.
I have people. You know what's ironic about me is like I hate rock music. I fucking hate rock music.
Really?
I hate it. And then all these kids are like, what do we do? How do we make it a rock band? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know what I was going to say. I relate to what you're saying because I spent a year and a half writing this book and my family was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
My grandma, like I kept telling my grandma and she's like, what is this? I'm like, and my mom's like, yo, don't you play rock music? Why are you doing this book?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? And then like my friends are buying houses, getting married, like that whole thing. Like you start playing the comparison game.
Oh yeah.
And then I was just like, I got to do this. And then my grandma called me a week ago and she was glowing because she read a review. She read a Facebook post about a review someone wrote about the book and she got it.
Yeah.
And it made me so happy because I was like, finally.
Yeah.
But it's
that's
hard.
amazing.
I hear you. Like it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. It's tricky to navigate. You
know? It's super tricky. It's super hard. It's still all I want to do, but now I have a more stable job that allows me to do it.
That's cool.
So I don't have to like pay myself when I go on tour. That leaves more money for the band.
That's cool.
And cover the expenses and then bank some in the Dante fund, as I call it. But it's tough, man. It's fun though.
Yeah,
I'm still having fun doing it.
Once a pirate, always a pirate, though.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, also, like 90% of the world has everything wrong. Like the way that like things should be structured, the way that like you should live your life. So like, just do whatever we need to do.
I know. I think some of the big takeaways I got from this episode today is just like not comparing yourself to others. That only hurts yourself, which I'm glad I've like done the work to get away from that like kind of mentality. And now I champion when my friends are doing cool shit. Like this book, this is cool shit.
Yeah.
This is fucking rad.
Yeah, thanks.
And I applaud and I champion it. I think it's fucking cool, man.
So sweet.
Yeah.
I think it's just like I'm on the same boat. I think that's just like a youth thing.
Yeah.
You know, because like you just get older, like what was I mad at? What was I comparing about? But like my teacher talks about this where she says, it's like, again, I said this earlier, but it's like when you compare, you're not trusting the ground you're on.
Right.
You're not trusting where you are.
Yeah.
You know, and Jordan Peterson talks about this too, where it's like, when you compare yourself, it's almost impossible because you have to compare your entire life with them. Your upbringing, the work they did, their influences, like all these other things that are just, it's like everyone's a universe. And when you start comparing universes together, it gets really hard to tell what's what.
Yeah.
And it's just suffering. It just hurts.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
And that's what makes it awful.
And like, this is also the classic thing about comparing. It's like, you're like, oh, I was jealous you're on Conan. And I'm like, I held that like it was a noose around my neck for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, you never know what someone's actual experience is about it.
And that's what I learned doing this even longer. It's like, oh, this is just hard, dude. If anyone is doing it now and still continue doing it, it's because they fucking love it, man. Because this shit is not easy.
That's the only reason to do it, though. You have to love it.
You have to fucking love it.
Yeah. But I think that's the best part about it. And even with like the music industry kind of collapsing, it's like, it sorts out the people who want to do it for fame or whatever. Like, you have to love it.
Yeah. I'm like, I've come to grips now that I am not going to go viral.
Yeah.
I am going to build a fan base that loves the project.
Yeah.
It's not going to be this
That's
thing.
so smart.
That's like, okay, that's a more sustainable
Long-term
business
game.
than like, go ahead, young boy, like your experience. Go ahead, 19-year-old boy. Go make money for us. I don't know. Like, you're on your own now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fuck. I don't know what I would have done in your position.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting about that is, and I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for this, but like, I hated other bands, but I loved the people.
Right.
So like, I'd meet people 2011, 2012, 2013, and like I still have people hitting me up, be like, that was one of the best nights meeting you, because like you said this, or like you smiled at me, or like treated me well.
Yeah.
And it's cool because like they're still like reaching out now. So it's just connections. It's just relations, you know. And when you love people and you know what you're doing, people are happy to support you.
And that's what it's about, man.
Yeah.
I'm happy to support you, dude.
Yeah. Same.
There it is, man.
Yeah.
No, is there anything? Okay, let's wrap it up, man. Is there anything else you want to?
I'm proud of you. I said this before we started, but like, it's like the same, like, it's the same realization of like, I was on your Instagram and I saw all the cool stuff you have going on, and like, I feel like I'm winning.
Oh, thanks,
you
man.
know, like I'm really proud of you. I'm proud of what you're building. I'm stoked for the shows you got and everything. I'm stoked you're doing this too.
Yeah, I'm glad to be doing this again.
Yeah,
this
and
is
thanks
like
for having
really
me on.
fun, dude. Thanks for being on,
Yeah.
and I'm proud of you too. I'm glad everything's working out, and I love talking about ayahuasca because I just keep hearing it all the time now, and I'm like, oh, and it's like you hear about it online, and you're like, okay, but it's like, but now I'm hearing it from your experience. Okay, this is someone I know who's actually going through it in the process.
I mean, you go on Reddit, you go on the internet for anything.
Right.
It's a disaster. Like especially ayahuasca. You go on Reddit, I'm like, some of these people, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm trying to be very mindful of how I talk about it too, because like it's so sacred, it's so divine, and like I'm not pushing it on anybody. Like I'm just talking about what it did for me and my experience.
That's awesome.
You know, and it's not for everybody, but it's fun.
Give it a shot if you want to. Yeah.
Well, or it can be terrifying.
Oh.
You know, either way.
I just don't want to shit myself.
Can I tell you a story about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is a guy had that fear, and he did it. I was playing music, and he was carried up the stairs, and he's like, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And I was like, "I think he just shit himself."
Yeah.
And I wake up the next day, and he walks in the kitchen, like he fucked 2,000 women.
What?
Like he was shining, like glowing. And I was like, how you doing, bud? And he's like, I'm not afraid of death anymore.
Yeah.
And then just walked away, and I was like,
wow.
Yeah.
If you can have that kind of clarity afterwards, that's amazing, man.
So maybe it was a good thing he shot himself.
Yeah.
Who knows? You know?
Maybe I gotta get rid of my fear of shitting myself.
Yeah, I had a fear that I was gonna start masturbating.
Right, like you can't.
That was my fear. And then I talked to someone, and she's like, "If you do it, you do it. You get it out of your system." I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. It's like, but still, like, I don't want to do that.
At the same time, it's like, oh, no one's looking at me right now. Well,
that's the whole thing too.
It's like you're in your own. Like everyone's going through their own trip. Yeah,
people are like, I don't want to throw up. I had this conversation today at lunch with someone where I hear this a lot. I don't want to throw up. The thing about it is that when you're in it, throwing up for me has been one of the greatest experiences, because you're throwing up energy, you're throwing up trauma. Mm-hmm. You're letting go of something. So every time I throw up, I'm like, it's like a victory lap, you know? So you're not even thinking about that. You're in some other place. So it's great.
That's awesome.
Great.
All right. On that note, dude, thank you. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on. The book.
Yeah.
Thank God for Depression. Out now. Where can people get it? Your website?
It's on Amazon. There's signed copies on Indiegogo. Cool. So I would prefer Indiegogo.
Indiegogo. Yeah. Okay, we'll drive people there.
Yeah. Amazing.
Dude. Thanks, man. Thanks.
Appreciate you so much.
Yeah.